Money FM 89.3, the best of the afternoon update. The Afternoon Update with Lynlee Foo.
That's right, you're with me, Lynlee, on Industry Insight. Now, when we think about artificial intelligence in finance, many of us picture chatbots, trading algorithms, or robo-advisors. But the bigger story is how AI is being built into the very plumbing of global markets. And yes, I know that doesn't sound very glamorous. Some people might even say it sounds a bit unsanitary. But this plumbing is the very system that keeps trillions of dollars moving safely every single day. And few institutions are as central to that system as BNY, with over $50 trillion in assets under custody and administration. It really sits at the backbone of global finance. How it adopts AI and re-engineers its platforms doesn't just affect its clients, it has ripple effects across the entire financial ecosystem. And joining me in the studio today is Leigh-Ann Russell, Chief Information Officer and Global Head of Engineering at BNY. Leigh-Ann, so wonderful to have you with us right in the studio here in Singapore.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I talk about the plumbing, right? Not very glamorous, but BNY already has more than 60 AI use cases in the production, if I'm not mistaken. And over 90% of your employees are using ELIZA, your enterprise AI platform. That's remarkable for such a large institution. How do you embed AI into the plumbing of finance, custody, settlements, compliance, without risking disruption to something so critical?
Oh, well, I find it very glamorous, in fact, indeed, as an engineer for the last 3 decades, being able to affect the financial system by employing the cutting-edge technologies that we need to grow has been a very, very exciting part of my journey at BNY, where I've been for the last year. So we have now 80 solutions in production across the bank, touching just about everything that we do. We have enabled that, first of all, by going very deep in training our employees, I would say. So as you pointed out, we are now at 98% of the bank fully trained on Gen AI, because we really believe that if you can make your workforce AI literate, then they are the ones that are going to come up with the best ideas. Now, as you quite rightly point out, we do that with a very, very strong architecture to make sure that we implement that AI in a very fair, ethical and transparent way, to make sure that we take into account all the regulations that we face around the world as a globally, systemically important bank.
And I think that really highlights how invisible but critical these systems are. And most of us never see it, but AI is already shaping how the markets run. Now, MIT research suggests 95% of companies don't see real ROI from AI. You've said, I think, BNY is in the 5% that does. So what's the one thing the industry often gets wrong about scaling AI, and how did you avoid that pitfall?
So we are very excited to say that we are one of the 5% who have managed to scale AI at large across the bank. Now, I think the key thing for us has been that training. I think many companies who have pitfalls in their adoption of AI get very molecular about how they justify a business case before they put AI into production. And we have said, absolutely not. This is going to completely transform the financial services sector. We don't need to call the innovation. In fact, we need to make sure that innovation happens at scale. So that was really a different mindset. Many companies, I think, get stuck by trying to just figure out one thing, or they make sure that it's made to sit within the engineering function. That's the fact that us training everyone, this is not an engineering function or IT function's job. This is everyone's job. This is AI for everyone, for everything, everywhere. And by making sure that everyone is trained, they have been able to come up with the best ideas that the engineering department or IT department couldn't do. And therefore, I think that has been our really secret sauce and how we have managed to get the adoption going so fast.
So it's really about creating an organization that actually uses this day to day.
Absolutely. Every single day, our engineers our business people, our client services team are using Eliza in some shape or form. That's our agentic platform, who was named after the wife of Alexander Hamilton, who founded the bank 241 years ago. So our employees are using Eliza. Perhaps they're doing it personally. We have enabled our employees to build their own agents. We have 17,000 employees at the bank who are agent builders, most of whom are not engineers. That's just created an incredible tidal wave of use cases, but also practical applications that each and every one of us can use in our daily lives.
Wow, that's even more impressive. Now, financial services is one of the most highly regulated industries. Regulators here in Singapore, like the MES, are calling for responsible AI. So how do you balance that pressure to innovate quickly with the obligation to stay within strict guardrails across so many markets?
I think the first thing is to have a very open and transparent dialogue with our regulators, both here in Singapore with the MES, the Fed in the United States, the European legislators. Each and every one of them are still also learning their own way. This technology is still probably very early in its journey and nascent. So we make sure that what we do is very open and very transparent, and we bring the regulators along the journey with us. And like I said, we started this whole thing in 2023 when we went into Gen AI, beyond regular machine learning that many of the banks have adopted for probably a decade. We went into this by, first of all, creating a framework that which we could build our models and make sure that anything that we built inside the bank, first of all, is built by my engineering organization. Of course, our employees can build their own agents. That's a fun thing to do. But if you want to build enterprise-grade tech, it happens in engineering, and we work within those guardrails that we've built with human oversight to make sure ethics, transparency, responsible AI is at the heart of everything we do, and we do that lockstep with the regulators.
Wow. And BNY, of course, is more than 200 years old, which means, like many banks, you've inherited layers of legacy systems. You've overseen big projects to modernize data centers and streamline infrastructure. So what lessons, Leigh-Ann, could banks here in Asia take from that journey?
Well, first of all, I would say in the region, you are doing very, very well. There was a great study released recently by Microsoft on work trends. And actually in Asia, 53% of leaders are already adopting AI across their agentic workflows, which is way ahead of the global benchmark. So some great work happening here in the region. I think it's one piece of advice I would give is, yes, we have absolutely invested in our infrastructure. We have the phrase resilience is commercial. So what we have built is a very, very solid, resilient architecture and also data platform of which our AI can sit on top of. But you also have to do that concurrently. There will never be a time when all your data is clean or is ready to go. There will never be perfection in anything that you do. So to be able to innovate as well as continue to strengthen your resiliency, your architecture and your data systems, you can do both of those things concurrently.
Wow. Now let's talk about the client side. You've said AI is moving beyond back office efficiency into areas that directly touch clients, from real-time insights to faster settlements and more personalized advisory. How do you see AI becoming a true growth enabler for clients, especially in this region, Asia's very mobile-first markets?
Well, we have a very simple strategy at BNY. It is be more for our clients, power our culture, and run our company better. So it is absolutely true that everything that we do is enabling powering our culture, but of course, being more for our clients is at the heart of our tech platforms. So if you were to double click on some of the 80 solutions that I had mentioned, one of the things that we do is make sure that our client teams are set up using agentic AI to be absolutely ready to nudge our clients to make sure that they can fulfill their portfolio ambitions. So that is a use case in our Eliza platform today. And we have replicated that in our wealth sector platforms, where we have agents that listen into our markets calls and make sure that our wealth advisors can go prepared to our clients to meet their needs and not have to spend all of their time in the back office pulling materials together, but be fully ready to meet the needs of their clients on an individualized basis based on the agentic workflows that are doing all the hard work in the background.
Okay, so whether it's digital first or not, it's still about delivering better outcomes and helping clients grow.
Absolutely. That is at the heart of everything that we do at BNY.
Okay. And none of this happens, of course, without people, as you've been talking. You oversee thousands of engineers worldwide. What does the future skills mix look like in financial services? And how do you compete with big tech for talent?
That's such an interesting question. And we are very fortunate to take a large percentage of top graduates from around our partner universities from around the world. So we have just hired the last 2 years consecutively 2 of our biggest graduate analyst class that we've ever had, 1,500 students or thereabouts, many of them who come into my engineering organization. And we're very, very delighted that they choose to join BNY. As you say, the landscape is very competitive in tech, but we are finding our graduate programs very oversubscribed. And I think what is getting out there about BNY is we are not doing modeling, we're not doing use cases, pondering on use cases, but we're actually allowing every one of our employees to build the technology themselves and put those use cases into production. So our analysts can come out of their graduate program and they can immediately within their first few months be building technology that really, really makes a difference to financial markets. Of course, with some senior oversight. We are also rolling out some very, very cool tools to our developers right now. So already most of the bank were on GitHub Copilot from Microsoft. 90% of our developers use that AI-assisted technology today. But we are rolling out the next generation of AI code-assisted tools like Windsurf, like Devon, like Cursor, to make sure that all of our engineers have the most cutting-edge technology to help them to stay not just abreast of what is going on in tech, but actually at the absolute bleeding edge of technology, and not just financial services, as I said, but at the heart of any tech company.
Wow, that's a very compelling proposition, I think. Instead of just another tech job, you get a chance to shape the backbone of global markets. Wow, amazing. Now, finally, let's zoom in on Asia. Clients here are demanding real-time insights, scalable platforms, and digital-first services. So how is BNY adapting its global platforms to meet the needs of this region?
Well, I think that's a really important point for us and something that we're very focused on. All of us have such sophisticated technology in our pockets today that even if you're working on enterprise technology, you are expecting to have the same amount of that consumer grade technology in your work systems as well as your personal lives. So first of all, that is based on resilient technology. You know, before you get to the very exciting stuff, you have to have tech that's resilient, that works every day, that is available on demand. And at BNY, we have made significant investments in our infrastructure to make sure that we have the highest level of resiliency that our clients demand. Then built on top of that is a very, very futuristic tech platform that enables data to be taken from the 57 trillion data points that we have of assets flowing through our pipes every day to providing actionable insights to each and every one of our clients at the click of a button or a mouse or however you imbibe your data flows. So we are very, very conscious of that consumer grade demand in our customers today, and we are making huge investments to make sure that we are absolutely providing that level of service, that level of technical capability, but also importantly, that level of resiliency that our customers expect.
Leigh-Ann, do you see a future where banks, regulators, and even competitors co-develop AI frameworks together, almost like shared infrastructure for the industry?
I think it's very important that we share where there's no compete. So, of course, it's a highly competitive landscape to be in AI, in tech or finance today, and there's many areas that are competitive, but making sure that we keep the banking sector, the financial services sector safe is absolutely critical. The threat landscape from cyber events is only going to get more challenging, particularly with AI, which is in the hands of the bad guys as well as the good guys. So making sure that we are sharing best practices with our regulators, with our peer banks is something that we actually do on a relatively frequent basis, because keeping the whole ecosystem safe is good for the whole markets.
Okay, so the industry might compete on services, but when it comes to standards, I suppose everyone has a stake in collaborating. You know, Asia is often called world first, as I've mentioned a few times now. Could it actually leapfrog the US and Europe in certain areas of AI-enabled finance?
Well, there's plenty of innovation coming out of the region today. And so I, having worked in energy sector for a large part of my career in financial services, I'm horrible at predicting what the future could look like. So I tend to shy away from that. I would say that across the world today, access to an LLM is available to every single person on this planet with an iPhone or a PC. The ability to then use that technology to create applications, to create your dream market scenarios is available to each and every one of us. And therefore, it's only up to the imagination of the individuals about how to take that technology. So I would say remain very optimistic. Like I said, the Microsoft report recently on work trends positioned Asia very strongly, not just in the agentic use of leadership, but actually these markets of thinking of AI as a thought leader partner and not just a tactical tool to use. So the whole region has been positioned very strongly from that report, and I think we should all be very excited about what the future looks like ahead.
Wow, exciting thought there. Before we let you go, Leigh-Ann, since you mentioned earlier that you spent nearly 2 decades at BP, if I'm not wrong, where you oversaw innovation and engineering in a very different sector, energy sector. How has that experience of managing complex global supply chains and engineering challenges in oil and gas shape the way you now think about modernizing infrastructure and scaling AI in financial services?
Well, both energy and tech and financial services are all highly regulated industries. So there's a lot of commonality in what we have done. I did spend a short stint working in procurement where I led a $30 billion procurement organization. And I think the two things I learned out of that was partnering becomes really important, whether that is with other peer institutions, with our supply chain, with actually people who we supply to also. That whole ecosystem of respect and partnership becomes really important. And I sincerely believe and learned from that the companies who partner very well are companies who win. So we are very excited to have a number of our partners in the tech space at BNY. We strongly partner with Microsoft. We are one of OpenAI's frontier partners, although we do use all of the large language models. We were one of the first banks globally to take NVIDIA SuperPods into our infrastructure. And so that was a great lesson for me, as those who partner strongly have the highest chance of winning. We're very excited to partner with many great institutions here in the region also. And I will continue that in my thought leadership as I go through this journey at BNY.
Leigh-Ann, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a fascinating look at how AI and engineering are transforming not just BNY, but the wider financial system, wider financial services industry as well, from legacy systems and regulation to the future of client experience in Asia. She is the very impressive Leigh-Ann Russell, Chief Information Officer and Global Head of Engineering at BNY.
Thank you for having me.
I hope you get to sample some spicy street food tonight.
I look forward to it.
You've been listening to Industry Insight on Money FM 89.3.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.